Do-do-do, do-do-do. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the movie musical review of West Side Story 2021, brought to you by Before the Downbeat, a musical podcast. That's right. You saw me do our trailer reviews. You may not have seen Autumn in them, but don't worry. Her and I were talking a lot off camera about her thoughts on the trailers. Mm-hmm. It's just she had a very busy summer and fall, so she was very preoccupied with life. She went all the way to Dubai and back. But today we're talking about the Spielberg remake of the 1961 Best Picture, the Tony-nominated 1957 musical West Side Story, choreographed and directed by Jerome Robbin, book by Arthur Lawrence, lyrics by Stephen Spielberg, and music by Leonard Bernstein. And this version had a screenplay done by Angels in America writer Tony Kushner.
A genius.
Yes.
We'll just refer to him as actually, it's a whole group of geniuses.
It really is. I mean, think about who did the cinematography, which was Janusz Kaminski, who won Oscars for Saving Private Ryan and Schindler's List. Like, this guy knows how to shoot a movie, and
it was very beautiful.
It's a beautiful film, like the color and the way they filmed it. We'll get into it. But we're gonna get into this. Autumn, when did you see the movie?
I saw it on Boxing Day.
That's right. Autumn,
I was going to go see it again, but alas, it foiled me. But I saw it on Boxing Day with Sarah. We had a great time.
Good date night.
I mean, we had to wear masks, which is a bummer but there were only like 3 other people in the theater.
See, there you go.
So I was hoping to have the theater to myself to sing along, but
Autumn, if I was there with you, I would have sung along.
Yeah, we tried
Trust
to sing
me,
along
I was tapping
in
my
the Cats movie, but we just ended up laughing the whole time.
So good. It was so bad of an experience. It was so good.
This was a significant step up from Cats.
1,000% step up from Cats.
Oh my.
Mm-hmm. And I've seen this movie now 4 times at the theaters, Autumn Smith. Bravo. I won tickets to see it in a preview screening here in Toronto, and Autumn was able to come. So Jessica, our wonderful Jessica Maxwell, who we just saw last episode in Tick Tick Boom's review, came with me. And then I saw it with my friend Allie. We did a VIP experience with the food and the comfy chairs. Because, we do.
Yeah, we gotta be all bougie like that.
Exactly.
Like
then
that.
I dragged my family to see it, and afterwards they made me swear not to take them to another movie musical at Christmas for 2 years. So
they liked it that much, eh?
They loved it that much. They'd never wanted. They just couldn't live up. Another one couldn't live up to it. So I was like, that's fine. And then I went and saw it by myself on New Year's because I knew we were going to be talking about it in the next few days. So I was like, I got to go see it one more time just by myself to give myself that another chance to look and examine this piece. Because there's a lot of detail that Spielberg put into this. Like the layers of character building work that he put into this, from the choice of the color of the bedspreads for Anita and Maria tell you exactly who their characters are. Did you notice that, Autumn?
I noticed the purity of Maria's.
Well, she starts out pure white, and then she goes to the corals, which are the coral colors, which are the sharks. Then she goes to light blue, which is like that first steps into the world of the jets. And then by the end, she's in a dark blue. So she's gone full jet. And if you notice her bedspread, it's blue. While Anita's is coral pink and red, which are the shark colors.
Well, that is amazing.
Yeah. Or
I didn't notice that. I wish I had noticed that.
Or here's something I noticed in my 4th viewing that I never noticed before. So
I have 3 more chances to catch up to you here.
I know. But in the Anita scene at the candy store, if you notice, she comes in one door on the right, and then she exits through the other door on the left. So it's almost like she came in one way and has come out changed the other way.
Another way. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Like Spielberg, the detail that
I like
of thought, like that just shows you just how finite detail he was going in. I mean, you look at this lovely book I got given for Christmas, everybody. Highly recommend to read. Like you look at some like of the notes, like just pages on pages of notes about dances at the gym and like just the scenic shots and the way he composed them. Like, yeah, stupid green screen, doing this thing, but you can see like just the way they compose the shots. Like he put so much time and effort into.
That's interesting that you say that, because I'm sure we'll get to it, but the one thing I felt was lacking in this film was time.
Yes, we will get into that. I do have notes on that. You particularly feel it after the Rumble, is where I really felt time being a problem. We will get into that.
Oh no, I found it way earlier.
Oh, okay, we'll get into that.
Way earlier.
Well, first then, let's get into our leads. So we have Ansel Elgort as Tony, and we have Rachel Zegler as Maria. So Autumn, what did you think of this main love duo? Were they well cast in the roles? Do either of them deserve the Oscar nomination that they're being buzzed about?
No. I mean, look, who am I to judge? I mean, really, Ansel Elgort is a former stage door kid.
Yep. Did you ever coach him?
No, I wish I had. He just is boring. I'm like, I don't care about you. I want to care about Tony, but I didn't feel like he was connecting intention to text.
Yes.
Ever.
Kushner gave him a lot to.
There was a lot of intention work laid in from Kushner.
Yeah.
Like the fact that he had come out of prison and that but there was no urgency.
Yeah.
And there was no urgency in their relationship.
Yes.
She, I think, with a different Tony, it would have been possibly revolutionary.
Agreed.
Revolutionary? Revelatory.
Yep. Revelatory.
Revolutionary.
Yeah.
We're going to go with both.
Yes.
I just think it fell flat, as it does. Like Tony and Maria are very difficult roles. You get this virginal, sacrifice, almost Mary-esque character.
Yeah.
Maria.
Yeah.
And then you get Antoine, right? And it's Saint Anthony kind of.
He's a Ken doll.
He is
Tony's like a Ken doll.
If you look at Anthony as a name, right? Saint Anthony is the saint that helps lost things. So that I'm just thinking about this now. Antoine and Maria, that pairing is interesting. This innocence and this someone who's like
he's
lost.
A shepherd. Yeah. He's a shepherd who helps find people.
So it's interesting, but they're very boring. Like, and they don't need to be. And there were bits of Ansel Elgort that I thought, oh, why can't you bring that into your relationship with Maria? Like the struggle, like even their meeting, I'm like, yawn. The dance at the gym. My favorite thing in the original film
is the cha-cha.
One of my least favorite things in this version. I thought it was horribly done. It lacked all the awesomeness that Jerome Robbins. The choreography, actually, just stick with what was there because it was brilliant. It was. I don't know the choreographer's name. I
can tell you. Hold on. I can tell you his name. Justin Peck was the choreographer in this.
Now listen, the man is talented. I'm
Mhm.
never going to say that he is not, but he wasn't able to capture that difference in movement. It
Yes.
wasn't specific
Yes.
enough. But I found that in his Blow High, Blow Low that they did at the Tony
Yeah.
Awards for that
Mhm.
version of Carousel at the Lincoln Center.
Yeah.
And when they were doing it, I'm like, oh, they're flipping and doing all of these beautiful balletic movements. I'm like,
That's not sailors.
that wouldn't happen.
Yeah.
That's just not, that's not going to happen.
Yes.
So he doesn't choreograph with the world of the play or the film in mind. It's like what's going to look good. Whereas Jerome Robbins, that the dance, the choreography, paired so beautifully with the music that Bernstein created, right?
Mhm.
But there was also that dynamic juxtaposition between the sharks who were low,
Yeah,
and
very Bob Fosse.
almost steady, but steady and stealthy,
Yeah.
and the erratic hyperactivity of the jets. It was missing. They were too similar. And I'm like, bye, next.
I agree with that.
And America, I'm kind of like, okay.
I liked America more than I liked Dance at the Gym. I found Dance at the Gym.
Yeah.
You're right. Like their movements were too similar. They both were doing the twirls and the spins, and I'm like, that's fine for one of them. But Jerome Robbins was smart because he had his partner Peter Gennaro, and the two of them worked in two separate rooms. So,
that's right.
So there was two different people choreographing two different things, and him and his Justin's partner, because he had an assistant choreographer, but they're partners. So you could tell they did a lot of work together.
Yeah.
Meaning that there was less of a...
There was no contrast. It was just generic dancing.
Yes.
There was no characterization to the dance.
Yes.
And that made me so incredibly sad. At the Dance at the Gym, I'm kind of like, I just want to leave now. That it affected me that badly. And then I was like, okay, well, maybe there's going to be magic when Tony sees Maria for the first time. And it was just Ansel Elgort going,
yes, back to the Ken doll. Oh my God, that's brilliant.
And I'm like, there was nothing. There was no like, who is this person? Why haven't I seen her before?
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, she's with them. It's dangerous. It was missing the danger.
Mm-hmm. Well, you know what
is the point of the story if there's no danger?
Well, you know
what is the point?
It's true. Once again, I noticed it on my later viewings. Is Tony is on the shark side of the dance room, and Maria ends up on the jet side when they meet each other, and they're looking across the room. They're on the opposing sides, and I'm like, I don't think Tony would end up on the shark side.
Eaten alive. Sharks.
Yes. Yeah.
That would not happen.
Yeah.
There would be. No.
Yeah.
And then they met, and I was like, oh, you've known each other for a very long time. It was the most unromantic entrance into a relationship.
Yeah. Well, I mean, for me, that moment, you could okay, so that actually just gets into my bigger conversation about these two leads. Rachel, who I'm still blown away by, because she was 17 years old singing in her bathroom on YouTube and got this part as Maria. Like, hot damn, like, out of the millions, she gets picked. Your first movie was just Stephen Spielberg. Now she's Snow White, she's in Shazam, like, she's off to the races. She's got her career. She's wonderful.
Yeah.
She was giving a lot. And Ansel was the one that I felt was continually dropping the connection in the partnership. Like, she was always, like, for me, she was always exuding. She was expressive. she was engaged.
Yes.
And he, and no, and the way he spoke, his voice was very monotone. And it just, I felt bad for her because, first of all, the joke about "you're so tall" got a laugh at the screening when it was a full audience. That is a funny joke, but the fact that he is so freaking tall over her, like he towers, and I'm like, it's funny, but it's like that's also just pointing out the fact that he's always looking over her, like trying to get them to connect is tough, and you can see Spielberg working to build up this relationship, like on the balcony. The fact that they're always like, it takes them a while to actually touch each other because the bar's in the way. You can see Spielberg working to try and build up that moment. And I mean, it's unfortunately Ansel, and he does, and it's kind of his thing with acting in general. It's like even in Baby Driver, he was kind of very flat and monotone.
He's Christian Bale.
Yeah.
Like Christian Bale always whispers.
Yes.
And you're like, who cares?
Yeah.
Stop acting.
Yeah.
Find some intention and do the work. And if you can't, get off the screen. I don't care. Who cares if you're pretty anymore? It's boring.
Yeah.
Like if you're boring, you're boring. Ansel Elgort is, how do you say his name? Elgort?
Ansel Elgort.
Elgort is boring.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry. Yes, I should be touting Stage Door alum, but no, he's boring. He's boring with a capital B. And he's also a bad boy. That's 3 B's. Bad. Bye.
Yeah.
3 B's is a bye for me.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, and you said it well, like, it's not like he was given bad material. Kushner gave him a lot. Like that monologue where he's talking about the fact that he almost killed a person. And that's why he went to jail for a year, is because he goes, I was only one punch away from ending somebody like me's life. Well, or his moment of, I sat in jail and I didn't like what I was seeing. I was dragging myself down. And then Riff's response, Mike Fish's response is, "You're just too deep for me, kid." Like his reaction didn't match Ansel's performance because Ansel was giving the same flatline performance. And I mean, like, something's coming. The only reason why that song worked for me was because Rita Moreno was in it. And she was giving so much reaction to him. That she was lifting that scene partner.
I hate that. I hate that song so much. I hate it. I hate it because no one has ever found the thing that he's questioning. Is there something better coming for me? Could it be? I guess. Who knows? I guess it could be. He's trying to overcome his own self-doubt.
Yes.
But that struggle, like he had no struggle.
No.
And when you have a piece where he talks about almost killing a boy and having that unearthing moment, and then to just turn and stab Bernardo. Like without any.
Well, see, the Rumble was the one moment there were flashes of a darker Tony, and there were flashes of a Tony where I'm like, okay, there could have been a darkness to you. Like the moment when Bernardo pushes Tony after coming up from under the bleachers, and he falls on the bleachers, and there's a flash in his eyes because he gives a look of, I could kill you right now for what you just did to me. And there's a moment there at the Rumble too when he's about to kill Bernardo, punching him, and he stops and he looks at Riff, and he gets up to go to leave, and then the switchblades come out. But once again, it was missing. And where I really felt it was at the end, his death and his reaction to Maria's death didn't hit the same pitch as Richard Beamer did in the 61 version. Like when his pain and his just desperation in that moment. Like I really missed the line when he lashes out at anybody's. Because anybody's is saying come and hide. And in the 61 version, he says, "Leave me alone, beat it, go be a girl." And I was like, Kushner, you should have kept that line in that moment, because he's like Kushner set Kushner, like anybody's to set up as somebody who's friends with Tony. So the fact that he's turning everybody away, even anybody's in that moment, and it does it in such a hurtful way. Like they could
and then to gender her.
Yes.
Gender them, right?
Yes.
As to her.
Yes. Right?
Who is so clearly, the casting of that role was one of the best things.
Mm-hmm.
The person who played that role was magnificent.
They were.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
I do want to go back to Rachel just for a moment.
Okay.
I do want to say what I really appreciated about her Maria was her rebellious nature.
She was very feisty. She kisses Tony first. Like she is there right away.
I really like that, because I'm like, I kind of like that she was the pants of the relationship, right?
Oh, she totally was. I mean, that great scene after the dance at the gym the next morning, and just the good morning, I'm here, like stop making out in the other room. Like,
but it's what we want Juliet to be. Is that feisty, I'm falling in love with who I want to fall in love with.
Yes. And you know what? She earns that moment when she pushes Anita. In a boy like that, that physical action of pushing the person who's closest to you could have been really bad if they hadn't set Maria up as someone who's always pushing the boundaries of her of her proverbial cage that she's in. Yeah. Like the fact that she pushes Anita there, I'm like, yeah, you earned that, because that feels authentic to that moment, that you are breaking the cage at this point. You are breaking Anita out of her of her depression. You are angry, and Maria wasn't afraid to be angry in this. Like she was someone who
she was assertive and
very
stood up and feisty, and I appreciated that, and because Romeo and Juliet, Juliet is way more interesting.
She is,
because she is rebelling. She is I don't want to be part of this anymore. I want to be part of something new, and I am going to do whatever it takes to do that.
Yeah.
And she has the chutzpah to do that. Romeo's, who cares?
Yeah, nobody likes Romeo.
He's so boring.
Yeah.
Can I just say two more things about their relationship?
Yeah.
The subway scene.
Oh yes. Up to the church. Yes.
I just wanted to poke my eyes out.
Really? I like that scene.
No, I hated it, because I'm like, you don't seem into each other at all. This seems like a chore. And you just seem to be like, whatever. Yeah, that died out. Really, that fizzled.
See, I think I think it was Kushner's script in that moment, because the conversation they're having about this debate, where Kushner voiced something we've always said, which is the Jets are a group who have no home and but have a country, and the Sharks are people who have a home, the Sharks have a home but no country. The Jets have no home but they have a country. So the fact that they have that that thing of arguments were valid on both sides. The world is against Riff from the get-go. He's being squished out of his bubble. And but Maria's also right, where she says he would have hope if he didn't try and take it away from other people.
But there's only one person who can bear the responsibility of that transience, unfortunately. It's Riff.
Yes.
He made a choice. They're making solid choices.
They are.
What I loved about Krupke is that he was there and tried to challenge their choices.
Riff wasn't there in Krupke.
No, when Krupke would come around. When
Oh,
Brian
I
Darcy.
love Darcy James. Well, he describes in the book that he viewed Krupke as a father figure who just
Yeah.
wanted to hug all the
Mhm.
boys and just love them.
What I found, okay, so final thing about Rachel
Yes.
Ziegler and
Yeah. Ansel.
Anton, all the
Yeah.
Ansel
Yeah.
Elgort. I love that they set One Hand, One Heart at the cloisters.
That was a beautiful scene. And
I
then
was
sung
like,
live too.
oh, that's good. Like
Yeah.
that was
I like
smart use
yeah.
of the world around
Yes.
them. So that's what I want to say about that.
I like that Kushner gave them a date. That he gave Tony Maria more time to get out and be with each other versus in the original version where it's like Tony shows up the night before on the balcony. He then shows up the next day for a little bit at the bridal shop, and then he's off to the Rumble and kills Bernardo. Like the fact they built in time, with the couple to give them a reason to really fall for each other, even if the two of them weren't quite matching with each other. And I like that Maria, because in the original, it always bugs me that Maria's the one that sends Tony to the Rumble to stop the Rumble because she doesn't understand that making it a fair fight is as close as they'll ever get to actually solving the problem.
Right.
In this one, she's like, after she finds, because in the start of the date, she says, I want you to go and stop the Rumble entirely. Then she finds out Tony's history and realizes how broken he is from that experience of almost killing someone. That she says, I don't want you to go. I mean, once Ansel didn't quite play it this well, but Kushner gave them that material that it's like, I don't want you to go to that Rumble because of the trigger it could causing you. So she's smart enough to know that. And then it's Tony's own choice to be Mr. Bravado and go, they're still my guys. I will go stop the Rumble. And that it comes back to Tony making the mistake of going and trying to intervene when he should have just left it alone and left Riff with his gun versus trying to mix in there. So I like the fact that they made Maria less dumb or less naive.
Yes,
she's smarter. Naive. She's less naive.
Well, she's spicy and fierce. Like there's a new energy to her. But with that feistiness, the fallout of his actions needs to be different.
Yes. Well, trust me, we will get into the fallout of the Rumble because I have notes on that.
Okay.
That follow-up to there didn't work. But let's get into the supporting cast because we've alluded to a few of them. But let's get back to Krupke because you seem to be on a Krupke train there for a minute, Autumn.
But do you want to talk about the song Krupke?
No, we'll save the song Krupke because I have notes on the song Krupke. But the character of Krupke,
I liked him.
Darcy James, I liked him a lot.
I like the idea of trying to find empathy with the police. I thought that was a brave move, Mr. Spielberg.
I thought that was a great move because Krupke's played as adult in the other versions. Like he's played as kind of like a lumbering buffoon. But I like Darcy James giving him a paternal energy to him where it's like he's trying, like it really shows that he's trying his best. And I almost wanted one more scene after the coroner office scene where he's helping Anita sign the papers.
Yeah.
I almost want him there with Lieutenant Schrank investigating.
But I liked how he was the complete opposite of Schrank.
Oh, Schrank was great in this, though. I love Corey.
Oh, no, he was brilliant.
And I like what Kushner did with him.
Yeah.
Because in the original version, Lieutenant Schrank is way more overt in his racism. He's his whole thing of, leave him alone. He wants to go home to San Juan to write about how he's got a maid over here. Like it's far more thump, 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 bad cop, bad cop, bad cop, Lieutenant Schrank. This, it's far more realistic because it's subtle. The jabs he makes at, particularly at the Sharks, are far more subtle and dangerous. Like his whole line to Anita of, so you were his husband. Yes, well, sort of, whatever you were. It's like, you bastard. Like that backhanded slide of knife between the ribs. And when And when he reveals, he knows how to speak Spanish. So when he translates what Maria just said about going to Valentina's store, and Anita rips the rag that she's prepping on her sewing machine, is so it's scary. There is a danger with Shrank Around. There is a real danger. I mean, you get that right off the top when he rips the nail out of Baby John's ear.
It's so interesting because he really sheds light on the current climate with policing.
Yes.
And you have he elevates them with Krupke and goes, well, they can be like this.
Yeah. They
but
can't be good, but they also can be like
also
Shrank.
be like this.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh my God, it's right there in black and white, right?
Yeah.
I found that really, really well done. And I thought Kushner did a great job with both of those characters. I thought it was brilliant.
He definitely took those two characters who were very minor and overlooked, and he gave them something. And that's what I found Kushner did really well with the supporting cast is I will just say it outright. The supporting cast in this movie is outstanding.
Oh, it's way better than the least.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, well, it's way better than Tony. Rachel, I'll lump in with the supporting because she is strong. For somebody who's 17 and they're making her film debut.
Yes,
she did very good.
I will give you that.
Yeah,
I just he brought it down for me, so their relationship fell flat.
Yes.
I don't think it was her fault. I really don't. I agree with you on that.
Yeah, it's.
And I think she could have done so much more if she had been given a better team partner.
Yeah, agreed. But I loved Kushner's details he put into every one of these characters. Like, I didn't like how much bigger he made the Jets, like as a group. Like, how new ones like Numbers and all these other Jets who were like, just stick with the original 6. But they all were distinct. That's what I liked, is that they all were distinct personalities. And you could follow each of them. And on anybody's who's part of the Jets was fantastic. Like, I know some people were like, oh, this is just woke casting doing the like making anybody as a trans character. And I'm like, no, that's smart, because they could have been a trans character all the way back in 57, but that wasn't something that was acknowledged or talked about, really.
Look at
this is a logical progression.
The character is gender fluid.
Yeah.
It is a gender fluid role.
Yeah.
So the casting of a trans actor is brilliant.
Yeah.
And I applaud this actor because brilliant. Yes. They were brilliant. They actually made the movie for me. I was like,
Ezra Menez was anybody's.
Yeah,
Ezra Menez. Yeah. Sorry.
Like, just so much specificity and connectedness. And that feeling of otherness was so palpable, and it became struggle, like in a way that I've never seen that character before. The other person, there were 2 people where I was like, oh, I finally see this role as what it is
the other
to be. It's Chino.
Yes, Joshua Rivera. I loved him in this. And
amazing.
I mean, if you look at the relationship between him and Maria off camera, those two are very close. I'm not gonna speculate on whether or not they're dating. That is their business, not mine. But I will say they have fantastic chemistry, to the point where Spielberg actually had to tell Rachel at the dance at the gym when Chino starts dancing. Apparently her reaction was too big originally. Like, her joy in that moment was too big, and he said, you have to tone it down, or else Tony has no chance in competing with Chino.
She loves him for a different reason.
I love the details. Like the fact that he misses a button, in the fact Bernardo's a big brother to Chino. So you understand the connection, the fact that he cradles Bernardo's dead body.
Oh, but his journey.
Oh, it's a great journey.
And it was he almost accepted the fact that Maria fell for Tony. And he just wanted to be something to someone,
Yes.
right? And
he's like anybody. He wants to belong to something.
Yeah.
And the fact that they paralleled them so well with each other.
Genius. It was genius. And the feeling of other in a world where others are already othered.
Yeah.
That alienation, putting you on the outskirts of otherness, it was so palpable.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Like both of those actors, absolutely, like just devastatingly brilliant.
Yeah. And then next on my list, I have Rita Moreno as Valentina.
Like,
I mean, that was, once again, the fact that Kushner came up with this idea of let's kill Doc and instead give that role to Rita Moreno.
Yeah.
And reflect the possibility of what Tony Maria could have been, because that's what was being paralleled. And the fact that it doesn't come to be, and when she sings Somewhere at 90 years old.
Genius.
Like, it's such a heartbreaking moment because she's going, damn, we really her and her husband really were the lucky ones that they were able to live that life.
Yeah.
And the fact that she goes, there is really, the fact that that song didn't feel like wish fulfillment anymore. It felt like defeat. And
it felt like pleading.
Yes.
To plead.
Yeah.
Dear God, let there be, let this rectify. It could be sung at any funeral today where there is race relations. Dear God, let this end one day.
Yeah.
And it was the first time I appreciated that song. I mean, it's a beautiful song.
I know, it made your cut list when we first did our first episode of West Side Story. Somewhere made your cut list. And I was like, I wonder if this rendition's gonna convert Autumn on this song.
It did. Because I was like, it made sense.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, this actually makes sense to the story. It's like two households, both alike in dignity. Yeah. It had that effect, right?
Yeah.
It was great.
It was. And she was great. And I mean, like, as I said, like, she carried it. Like her and Rachel did a bit of a trade-off with Ansel. Like, it was like she carries the scene with him for a bit, and then she's out, and then Rachel carries the scene for a bit with the two. Just the scene of her translating Spanish for him was so captivating because she was giving such a beautiful performance of, all right, okay, fine, I'll translate for you. You don't have enough trouble already? All right, fine. Like, I'm not going to poo-poo you on this. I'll support you because you need somebody in your corner.
Well, and the whole thing, the ending, the soda shop scene.
Oh, yes.
That taking place there and that violation. And the fact that she still stood there with them
at the end
was interesting. I was like, oh.
Yeah, we'll get into the ending. Once again, the ending, I felt I didn't quite like how Spielberg did the final shot with her at the end.
Yeah. Like
yeah. But I love the fact that it was Anita saving Anita, because you had one Anita saving another Anita at the store. But the fact that Ariana DeBose's Anita spits in her face and says, "You're a traitor for what you've done." And like, just the knife, the dagger in that moment that Ariana DeBose thrusts at Rita Moreno's character is great, and it gave that. We will get into that scene as well. I have lots of notes, people, so we're not going to skip around. I'm going to try and stay as focused as possible.
Yes, Rita Moreno. Focused.
Rita Moreno,
brilliant. I loved it.
Mike Face as Riff. I was skeptical about his casting because he didn't look like the typical Riff. But once I saw him do it, I was like, that's how you do Riff. He's a rat. Riff is a rat. And Mike Face played that role so well, where it's like you understand him.
Yeah.
But you also don't like him because he's being an asshole to this community.
Oh, I loved
Like,
him.
he was such a tough balance to strike with that character.
I adored him because he was so present in his struggle all the time.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And he felt feral and lost.
Yeah.
He was a lost boy who was performing feral beast.
Yes.
And I thought those two, I thought he should win the Oscar.
I agree. He definitely needs to be nominated, and I would support him winning for Best Supporting Actor.
I thought he was just marvelous.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the change. I mean, in the interviews, Mike has talked about how he really viewed his relationship with Tony as a romance.
Yeah.
That Riff really loved Tony, like not like sexual love. It's that deep brotherly love to one another. Like when he says "womb to tomb" wasn't a joke for me. The sincerity of how he says that line, is authentic, and the fear that he has in his face when he sees Tony is about to commit murder on Bernardo when he's punching him in the face. Like, where you see that change of scrappy, yippy little dog, like doing the whole "I want to fight" to, oh shit, my friend may go back to prison for something I set him up in.
Mm-hmm.
And then his fear when all of a sudden the switchblades come out, because he realizes, oh shit, the one thing I didn't want at this fight, because of how dangerous the switchblades are, is here. And you could feel the danger in his face. And in fact, his final line is, "It's okay, take it out. Let me die," basically, is what he's saying by taking that knife out of his chest.
Well, he is everything that a Mercutio / Riff should be.
Yeah. Likable, but not likable.
There was that erraticness, erratic behavior, hyperactivity, but lost. Like he was so lost.
Yeah.
And that punchy, when you approach a kid who's done something wrong, they defend themselves.
Yes.
And he was constantly in that stance, right? Which was great.
Yeah. I loved it. And I loved his line when he's buying the gun. And he puts the gun to his forehead and just says, "I was born to die young." Just the awareness that he knows that he is not going to make it to adulthood because of his choices. The fact that there's an awareness to that creates such a desperation in that character to live. Like if I'm going out young, screw it, I'm going out fighting.
Big.
Yeah.
Big and swinging.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's great. And then David Alvarez, our dear David Alvarez, the Canadian gentleman. He is Canadian. Also a Tony winner for Billy Elliot.
David Alvarez.
As Bernardo. Was great. Even though I would say this role is closest to remaining to what he originally was on on stage and on screen in 61. Like they didn't alter him too much. But what David brought to that role was terrific. That frustration, that anger that's brewing in Bernardo the whole time. Did you know David, Autumn?
No, I don't. I wondered if I did. I was like, do I know this guy? I loved him. I thought he was sweet. I thought he cared.
Yeah. Well, you can see why the community gravitated him as a leader.
Well,
why they looked him at as a protector. But at the same time, you understood Chino's point of view at the boxing gym after the rumble, where he says Bernardo was a fool because he let the gringos box him in to these 20 blocks.
That's right.
So he was strong, but he also got tripped up by his own prejudice, his own blindness.
Well, he was forever in a boxing ring.
Yes.
He roped himself in.
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
He roped himself in.
Yes.
And, but when someone is displaced, that idea of finding home again and finding your place and where you belong, it's incredibly relevant. And I think what made this really interesting was the fact that everyone was going to be displaced.
Yes, we will get into that element of the plot because that is in my Kushner section when we talk about him more, because I love that.
I did too.
And I love the fact that they gave Bernardo a song. He has his own song in this.
Yeah.
Which is the Puerto Rican revolutionary song. Like the fact they couldn't write a new song really because Sondheim was still alive, but Bernstein isn't there anymore, and you can't write another song that because you'll know it's not Bernstein. Bernstein had such a distinct writing pattern that you can never write another song, even though it'd be great to write a song for the Sharks.
No.
But the fact they found a way to give Bernardo a song, that was a defiant middle finger to Schrank by saying,
"Oh yeah, it was brilliant."
Viva Puerto Rico.
Yes.
Like,
Viva la revolution.
Yeah, exactly. It was great. It was so great.
It was. And I have to give it to Spielberg.
Yeah.
Thank you for doing half of this film in Spanish.
I love that. We will get into that more.
With
Putting
no
a pin in Spanish. Yes. We will.
What's that?
We'll get in, I said we will get into that. It's coming up in the next section.
Okay.
I have one more person we got to talk about though, and she is by far my favorite performance of this movie.
Anita DeBose.
Yes, Ariana DeBose as
Ariana. I say Anita? Anita
yes.
DeBose. Friends, it's been a long day.
It has been a long day. But no, Ariana DeBose as Anita. And
I love her work. I love her. I think
she is
great.
fantastic. She filmed this before the prom and before Schmigadoon. So this was her first thing out of the gate.
Schmigadoon?
Yes, she plays Emma Tate the schoolmarm. She plays like the Marion the librarian character.
Oh my god.
Mm-hmm.
She's so ridiculously talented.
And she was in the Hamilton Pro Shot as the bullet. Anyway, Ariana DeBose. By far the standard of the cast. I want her to win the Oscar for Best Supporting Actress.
Yeah.
She earns it.
She does earn it.
The complexity with her switching so fast between exuberant joy to the comedy zinger lines to the absolute sadness and anger that she has towards the end and fear. And the fear she also has in this character as well, which I don't think is always acknowledged with Anita. Is that Anita does have fear. Like the moment when she takes a second before she takes the plunge to go to the candy store at those stairs, where it's almost like she's going to walk into the pit of hell. Yeah, and just her moment of grasping that banister and steadying herself was brilliant. Like just the detail she put into that.
Oh no, she's magnificent. I just wish she had been given a little bit more time.
I agree.
A little bit more time.
Yeah.
Before a boy like that.
You know what I wish they had done? And this is going to tie into my notes on Gee Officer Krupke. Gee Officer Krupke needed to be after the Rumble. And it needed to happen because it was too front loaded with the songs. And we lost the Jets after the Rumble. We needed, I wanted the song for them there. And then you have the scene with Chino at the gym. And I wanted Anita there to come pick up Bernardo's stuff, like his boxing gloves or his gym bag. Like after she goes to the morgue. And she's the one that's there and tries to tell Chino, don't throw your life away. Or something like have her in that scene with Chino. And the other gentleman who's there in the boxing ring with Chino as well. Because I feel like she was needed there, and then she gets home and finds Maria and Tony.
I don't know. I don't know if she's capable of that at that point. I think she's probably spent a lot of time wandering. So when she comes in, but the reaction
That
Like,
slap.
I wanted her to be more feral.
Yes.
That
Well,
unleashing
yeah. Mm-hmm.
that agony, and to break down in Maria's arms and have Maria almost violently give something back.
Mm-hmm.
And then the two of them finally meet.
Well, the fact that they saw, well, once again, we will get into that song. It is coming up in my notes too. Okay. But I will say, yeah, I agree. I wanted a little bit more out of her in the second part before she got home. I agree with that, absolutely. Mm-hmm. And I do.
It needed to be something. It just felt, all of the Tony Maria stuff felt rushed. It felt like afterthought.
Yeah.
I almost didn't want them in the film. Like, I'm like, I wonder what this would be like without these two characters.
There wouldn't be a story. They're the catalyst.
Yes, there would. You would have the whole story of the jets and the sharks and just reconfigure that. Way more interesting. Same with Romeo and Juliet. The Capulets and the Montagues. They're way more, infinitely more interesting than the Tulies. Who cares about young love? I don't. You're 14, you'll get over it. Whatever, move on.
Yes.
Unless you're Maria and Chino, apparently.
Yeah.
But I do want to say, while we're talking about Anita, I do want to give a massive shout out to the woman who played Graziella.
Oh, yes, she is.
And the work she did, like that sticking up for another woman bit.
Oh, yes.
And I'm like, yes, that was, don't go in
her
there.
Her name is Pomela Garcia Lee. And apparently her and Ariana DeBose are friends in real life. Like, they started out auditioning together in New York. Like, they are really close friends in real life. And I did love that she was there with Anita in the candy store. And how she flipped from
they got
Spanish or speaking Spanish tonight. And then she tries to get Anita out by saying nobody wants her here, let her go. And then it's the pleading when they lock her out.
Yeah.
I thought that was I mean, we'll get into that scene because, actually, you know what? Let's get into it because
let's do it.
We're into the next section, which is, what did we think of Tony Kushner's adaptation? Is this a good film adaptation of this musical? Is there any scene you didn't feel quite translated well from either stage or from the 61 version? And I'll start with the Anita scene at the candy store. And I finally figured it out after my fourth viewing of that scene.
Speak away.
And it's the music. The music in that scene doesn't work. And the direction of that moment doesn't work. Because Anita comes in, right? And in the 61 and in the original version, her objective is very clear. I want to see Doc. I want to help. Let me get downstairs. And we lose that. And the Jets' objective is very clear too, which is Tony came through for us, so we got to come through for him. Meaning we got to protect that door at all costs. Yeah. The setup of these two opposing forces are now going to collide. And the fact that the music starts right off the top in that scene with the mambo music, and then it segues into the America music, which has a sick energy to it. It's eerie energy because, as we've talked about in our previous discussion about the scene, it's the spitting in the face version of America now. It's distorting. It represents the distortion of Anita's idealism in that moment because they're using that song against her. And the energy just wasn't there. That drive toward the inevitable that they're going to attack her, because Anita keeps forcing her way in to the scene with the, I want to see Doc. He's not here. I know he is. Where is he? Like, yes, it needed to be longer. It needed to be longer and sicker. The fact that in the original version, the staging of that moment is so brutal because it starts with the insults, then escalates to them pulling off her shawl, and then escalates to them pulling her into the shop, doing the dance with the scarf, and then it escalates to them throwing her around and onto the ground.
Yeah.
Like it all felt
There
to happen
wasn't
too
enough
quickly.
of that juvenility.
Yes.
There wasn't enough of that teasing, mocking.
Yes.
In that we don't know what to do. This is our only recourse.
Yes.
Is to attack you.
Yeah.
Like, you know, it's almost like Krupke is the prophecy of this happening.
Yes. And that's why I go, and this is actually ties into my notes for this. That's why I went, once again, Spielberg didn't know what to do with Krupke. He played into the comedy of that song, not the drama. And as you said, Autumn, that song, when it's too early in it, gives the Jets an excuse of why they do what they do. When it comes after the Rumble, it now feels like they're trying to create an alibi for what they've done.
Yeah.
And the fact that we lose them for so long, like after the Rumble, we get more at the Sharks after the Rumble than we do with the Jets. Like all of a sudden they're in Valentina's shop, and it's like, hold on, how did you reconvene with each other? How did you reunite, and how did you make the decision of what you're going to do? That you track the Jets throughout the second act, and it's very clear of, we got to regroup. Okay, great. Okay, now we've regrouped. Okay, now we got to find Tony because Chino's hunting for Tony. Okay, now we're in the shop. Okay, now we found Tony. Okay, let's watch out for the PRs. Okay, one just walked into our den. Now what do we do? How do we defend this guy? And what starts out as a simple, like, Doc, he slipped into the night deposit slot and got stuck halfway in. So there's no telling when he'll be back. Buenas noches, senorita. Yeah. To you lying spick, Bernardo's pig, to we're now going to rape you. Right? Like the escalation of that trajectory of the second act with the Jets wasn't there.
Well, it's an act of protection.
Yeah.
So to serve and protect, what would be really great in this scene is a reprise of Krupke.
Yeah. You're so right. Oh my God, Autumn. Why hasn't we ever thought of this?
Because no one is me.
I know, Autumn, right? I know.
But you can have what Spielberg did, because I thought it was genius. It showed that edginess and them defending their bad behavior. Instead of changing it, they defended it.
Yeah.
Which is a choice.
It is.
And it was like, oh, are you going to keep making that choice? And you as an audience member, you're like, oh no, please don't make that choice.
Yeah.
And then you go and you watch them make the choice. But then to come back at it and do Officer Krupke with Anita, that's
how you do it. That's what should have happened.
Mr. Spielberg.
Exactly. And for me, I go, what really made that scene work in the end was Anita's response to Valentina, where she says, you're a traitor for what you've done. And the fact she says, do you think I want to be in this country with animals like you? I am not American. I am Puerto Rican. Puerto Ricana. Like the fact that it's her defiance at the end is what's sealed. I felt weird watching the scene.
Yeah.
But it stuck the landing enough that I was like, okay.
But then the outro, that's when you play America.
Yeah. Well, okay. Okay. Yeah. Yes.
That's when you alter it.
Yeah.
And play it on her exit.
Yes.
Then it leaves Valentina stuck in the middle.
That would have been good.
Oh, those two.
That would have been good.
Thank you. I think there needs to be a remake.
Yeah. Directed by Autumn Smith and Mackenzie Horner. And I will say, okay, so let's get into the final shot, because I thought it was an interesting choice of what Spielberg did, where you end with Valentina picking up the gun and giving Chino over to the police at the end. I didn't like that. What I would have, because it felt like Spielberg doing the thing of, the the Puerto Rican woman is giving up one of her own. Like, she's making the choice to side with the Jets. She is giving up the shark, basically. She's sending the shark to the slaughterhouse. And I'm like, instead of doing that, I would much rather seen her come and comfort Maria and take Maria under her wing and walk her back into the store with the body, and have Chino instead end going kneeling on the ground with his hands up as the police show up, and you fade to black. As we
Or what if the police don't show up?
That would have been good too.
Like, what if she embraces Chino?
That would have been good. See, that would have worked. Like, for me, I just went, it's a weird choice to have her giving up.
And then they all walk into the soda shop together.
That would have been good.
With Tony's body. Like,
that would have been good too. Yeah, for me, like, I just felt like it ended on a weird note where I just went, I don't know why you made that choice. And that's why I want to read Kushner's screenplay when it becomes available, because it's going to be nominated, or should be nominated, for best adapted screenplay, because it is a good screenplay.
It was brilliant. Kushner is brilliant. I mean, he finds relevance in things that you go, oh, I didn't think that was possible.
Well, yeah. I mean, the fact that Kushner explored gentrification and, as Autumn likes to say, class, to such a fine level with this. The fact that you open on a rubble pile and you're showing that these world
comes in. I'm like, well, that's irony.
Yeah, exactly. And then the fact that, like,
and who populates the Lincoln Center?
All the white
paying $500 to see a piece of opera.
Exactly.
There's nothing. There is not a bigger signifier of classism than the Lincoln Center, and that is what they chose. And it's interesting. It's also a slam at arts, I think. And,
absolutely.
And the commercialization, which is irony in itself. They're making multi-billion-dollar films.
Yeah.
And yet they're going to say that.
Right? And I mean, I loved Schrank's speech where basically he says, you guys are stupid idiots because you didn't get out. I love that line. You're the last of the can't make it Caucasians. Yeah, Caucasians. Like, it's such a great line, because it's like the fact that, like, everybody else got smart, moved out, and married nice girls who you would want to marry, but your families stayed here drinking, being low class.
Where were they going to go? Like, we don't consider this when we're gentrifying a neighborhood.
And that's what Kushner highlighted so well in this, was the doom of these two gangs, because, as Schrank rightfully points out, what's a gang without territory? Well, Riff, you're very soon going to find out, because it's weeks away from all being torn down. Like, the fact that right next to Docks is a rubble pile, and Docks is like the last refuge.
But that was brilliantly done. Like, if you look at documentation, like film documentation of New York at that time, it was a rubble pile.
Yeah.
I mean, New York as we know it didn't really gentrify until the 90s, mid 90s, because I was there in the I was there in the 80s, and it was not pretty. It was not pretty, but it had a ton of character. It was interesting.
It was all Rudy Giuliani.
And, before Donald Trump moved in, it was a really interesting town. But it's like Parkdale. What was Parkdale before all of the veganism? Like, it was a safe harbor for the world of otherness to live in and cohabitate in. And we have alienated those who are on the margins of our society. Yeah. And that is what Kushner does beautifully in this.
Yes.
This is a reflection. Like, what happens when we steal the land and we use it for ill deeds.
Yes.
And capitalism.
Yeah, exactly.
And
I will say,
yeah.
Yeah.
Go for it.
Yeah. I mean, I will say this Kushner script also highlighted another major problematic element of the story for me, which is Tony and Maria shouldn't sleep together. There is no reason for them to have sex after the Rumble. No. What you really needed in that moment, instead of having Ansel with his shirt off and Rachel with her top off in bed, is it should have just been them sitting by the bed, holding each other. And maybe falling asleep in each other's arms, just holding each other next to the bed, And then Anita comes in and finds them. That's what should have happened there, because the sex is unnecessary. Like, for me, I just go, it's gratuitous. It's not a necessary plot point.
That's something apparently we need in 21st century.
But that was in the 61 version and the 57 version too. That plot point that they sleep together is in all three versions.
Isn't basing it off of that other thing it's based on?
Romeo and Juliet?
The worst Shakespeare ever written.
I know. But for me, I just went, this film really highlighted the unnecessary need for that plot point. Just simply having Maria tend to his wounds and hold to him.
Yeah,
that's all you need.
We can assume that they've done it.
Yeah.
We can assume that they've had sex. We can make that assumption based on their closeness. But if he's just holding her, that speaks way more volumes to their closeness.
Well, I mean, like my sister pointed it out. Quincy pointed out to me, she goes, why the heck would she sleep with the guy that just killed her brother? Plot-wise, it makes no damn sense. And for me, I go, no, she's right. My sister is absolutely right. It is an unnecessary plot point. If anything, they would hold each other and cry because they
should have been weeping together, sobbing together.
Yes.
Because he did the thing that he was most afraid that he would do.
Yeah.
And what is his capacity to do it again? And what is the danger of him being there in that moment?
Yeah.
If he can kill my brother,
who else can he kill?
Can he do to me?
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. And I will say,
love sex.
Yeah, no sex needed. But I will say the Spanish, which is something you touched on briefly. I agree with you. That was a brilliant choice, and I will defend Spielberg to the end. People are like, well, they should have subtitled because the majority of the audience is English speaking. I'm like, I followed that plot with no problem with subtitles. I understood exactly what was being said.
What is the second major language in America, friends?
Spanish.
I think it's Spanish. You all took Spanish in school.
Yeah.
Get over it.
Yeah.
Forget it. If you don't know Spanish, just who cares?
All the emotion.
I don't know Spanish. I was like,
I don't know it either. But I understood it.
I love hearing things in other languages because it forces me to engage the narrative in a new way. It teaches us about intention and just magic. It was magic. And it is, I will praise him and defend him for that choice.
It was a brilliant choice. And I love the fact that line of speak English kept coming back. When it's said by Anita, it's encouraging because she wants to assimilate. She wants to practice. She wants to be as American as possible. But when it's said by Lieutenant Schrank or Gladhand at the dance, where it's like, at all school functions, you must speak English. Like,
which is
hilarious. The fact that it turns into an insult.
Because, like, the majority of New York at that time was made up of immigrants who could not speak English.
Right? And the fact that, like, then it's thrown back at Anita at the end in the candy store scene with Graciela, who says, Spanish, who comes in here speaking Spanish, not tonight. Like, the fact that comes back again.
That colonial view of the world.
It's like, once again, Kushner just weaving that element into the story. He was so smart. The only thing I wish is that Anita's song, A Boy Like That, had been done in Spanish, like the 2009 revival. Because that is the one moment where I felt, Anita would sing in Spanish. Because she's
I think she could have done the whole thing in Spanish.
Yeah.
And then Maria could keep saying, speak English.
Yeah.
Like that could have been another layer.
Yes. Yeah.
But when we are in a heightened state of grief or anxiety or
we regress
love, we revert back to our first state.
Yes.
So she would be
in
speaking Spanish.
Yeah.
Because she is at her core, that is who she is. She is Puerto Rican. She is proud, right?
Yeah.
And this otherness, she should have done the whole thing in Spanish.
I agree. Well, let's get into the songs because we're talking about them. So, top 3 songs. Ooh. My first one is the Tonight Quintet. I loved this song. I thought it translated best from stage to screen. Spielberg, like once again, in the book, the detail that Spielberg goes into with this is incredible. Like, I remember watching it for the first time at the screening and my jaw dropped because it's such a simple direction of the Jets cross paths with Maria because she's going into the subway and they're walking the other way. And
it was brilliant. That was my mouth dropped.
I literally just went, "Oh my God!" What a brilliant, simple directing choice. They cross paths, but it totally works. And the fact that there's
in a 20 block radius, of course they do.
Yeah, and the fact that the underscore between with Schrank's monologue before it starts of, we know it's tonight, we don't know where, we're going to walk down these 20 blocks and find it because we don't want dead kids in the newspaper the next day, which was a real thing. Cheetah Rivera talks about how Jerome Robbins would bring in news articles of dead juvenile delinquent kids. Like the fact that that is a real thing that was happening. The fact that you have underneath that whole song, you have that bump 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 walk down the west side. The Jets are gonna have their way. Like it's just so brilliantly done. And the fact they come bursting up through the doors. Like you just feel you know what I described it in my notes as? It has the same energy as the Mob song from Beauty and the Beast. It's the Kill the Beast song. It has that same, we're going to go get him. We're going to drive. We're going to go get the other. We're going to go destroy the other.
There is a feral.
Feral. It is so feral. Both sides are feral. And even Anita is feral because what's she talking about throughout the whole song? She's going to go home and have a hot date night with Bernardo.
Yeah.
They're going to have sex. They're going to sex it up.
Get it on.
And she's talking about it in a church.
At the table.
She's in a bathrobe. The fact that she talks about having sex in a church as she's and then her 2 friends are just shut up. It's great.
Well, she's doing her Hail Marys or whatever.
Yes, it's brilliant. Like just the detail and just the way and just that gorgeous shot of Rachel walking into the orange sunset in that blue dress. It just glowed, and Tony coming out of the ground like a jet taking off, taking flight into the night.
It was brilliant. It was
the only shot that was missing again now. Oh, it's so good. And the only shot that was missing is I wish there would have been a shot of Valentino looking through the store window, watching Tony walk off. Like just her watching, going
somewhere.
Well, exactly, because she says, she says in her first scene with him is, stay away from the Jets and Riff. They are bad news for you. They will drag you down.
They're the drug.
They're the drug that you got to break. And the fact that she's going to watch him walk off into the night. Yeah. And she knows what's going to happen. She's not Valentina is very smart. Like, I think that was the only shot that was missing in that entire thing was because she wasn't singing. They didn't feel like they needed her in that moment. But I'm like, you did need her just to be there to lock up the shop and watch Tony walk away.
Yeah. But
the fact that it just tracks, they are converging forces on the salt shack.
Yeah, the shadows.
Yeah. Once again, Janos Kaminski with his cinematography in that, just the blending of the shadows, which we saw from the trailer. It's beautiful
also,
on the big screen.
Oh, it's interesting that they chose somewhere that they were surrounded by whiteness.
Yes. That is true. The piles of white and the white floor, basically, because it's stained with salt. And they're slipping on it. They're slipping on the whiteness.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Brilliant. Once again, Spielberg in his details with Kushner. But the song, it's just so brilliant. And the energy to it. I can't help but tap my foot every time we get to that moment. I'm eagerly awaiting that song.
Yeah. Yeah. I love it. I loved it. My number one song, I don't know. You are going to contest this. I know you are.
What?
But I think Cool.
Actually, that's a note we missed in my Kushner section, which is I love, but they didn't make my list, but I loved Cool and One Hand, One Heart because of the way they were reconceived. And Cool was brilliant. They made Cool work. The struggle in that song was real. The danger of that gun and the struggle for that gun.
And
brilliant. How did nobody ever think of that?
On the pier, that huge hole. I'm like, that choreography was good.
That was very good. And the fact that Tony was a little bit slower, a little bit more clunky in his movements, story-wise made sense because he's been in jail for a year. Like, he's not as agile as Riff. Riff is spinning and he's fast.
Oh, I thought he was pretty agile. Like, wait.
Like Tony is agile, but when you watch Mike Face, who is a natural dancer from Broadway, he had his turns are sharper, his movements are sharper. Tony's taller. He's more brutish. He's more thuggish. He's more able to swing, and yes, he can move, but it's clunkier. It's not as tight. Riff is spun like a top. Like Riff is boom. He's like a cat. Ready to pounce on that gun and wants that gun.
I loved it.
It was brilliant.
I love the danger.
Yeah. This song worked visually. And once again, that's what I struggle with Cool is when you listen to it, it's boring. When you see it done like this, the energy to it and the fact that Tony cries at the end. Because the way Spielberg talks about it in the book is this is Riff and Tony's breakup song. This is the moment where their paths are breaking from each other.
The Jets other him.
Yeah.
And he's lost his brothers. It's not just Riff. He's lost his... It's the nail in the coffin. Right?
Yeah.
He's completely othered in that moment.
Yeah.
So that was interesting.
Yeah. So I will not contest it, Autumn. I like.
Okay.
Cool.
All right.
What's it would be my number 4. Well, Autumn, it has to be America.
Yeah. I was gonna say that too, actually.
I loved America. And the fact that Ariane DeBose's shoes melted because of how hot the pavement was and how much movement she was doing, that she melted her shoes for this number shows the dedication. And this was, I think this was the hardest number they were going to have to do because the original is so iconic on the roof with Rita Moreno in that purple dress. That was an uphill slog of a song to reconceive because it's like you got to figure out.
But they did it beautifully. Like,
it's brilliant.
Taking over and the street party and like this almost fiesta kind of.
And the fact that we see the protest happening about evictions, it's great. That fact that Anita's coming through and you're catching the community in this, and it just shows how
the community came out of the stores and were on the street and became part of the peace.
Well, that represents how this whole community gets drawn into this argument that Anita and Bernardo are having about America. And the fact that they all get swept up in this moment of joy. And the fact that it ends with a kiss, which was apparently very important to both Ariane DeBose and David Alvarez, because they said we wanted to show that even when you disagree, you can still end on a good note with each other. It's not just like F you, like we disagree, I'm not going home, right? Like the fact that like clearly they've had this argument before. They know each other's arguments and the joy and the fact that in the sound design of when Anita is punching the gloves and the fact that her punches are heavier, showing that she's driving the energy is great. And the fact that the gym is Rivera Gymnasium after Cheetah Rivera is another like great little homage and detail that's put into that. And like
awesome.
It's such a great song. And that was the song I was most nervous about. Because I was like, how are they gonna do this song well and not make it a hokey street dance? Because it could easily just become, oh, everybody dance, yay. It's like, no, they built a story. Like this was Anita's day in a life. Like she does her laundry in the beginning. Yeah. She then leaves. She goes and buys fabric for her little sewing shop she's got going on up in there.
It's brilliant.
Then you travel past the protest. We drop Bernardo off at the gym. You then go back into the fabric district again. Like just the weaving of the song. Like the fact that they went through so many locations.
Cool. Like it became a beautiful pastiche.
Yes. It was brilliant. And
with fabric.
And the fact that I didn't miss the purple dress as much as I thought I would. For me, I was like, am I gonna miss the purple dress? Because it's such an iconic costume. And the fact that Spielberg made the conscious choice of, no, she's in yellow and red.
I love the yellow and red.
It was a brilliant color and it worked. And I was like, okay, all right, I'm sold. I'm good.
They're just fiery. Like they're scrappy. Her and Bernardo are scrappy.
Oh, totally.
And tenacious. And
well, I love her lines.
In all of their tenacity and bodaciousness,
it's love.
They are loving, but they are also involved in their community.
Yeah.
And their community, like, that is their home. Their home is their community.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And that is significant. And it's why Bernardo fails in a bigger way than Riff.
Yeah.
Because he has something that Riff does not have.
He has the community.
He has the community around him supporting his fighting, his boxing.
Yeah. I love the fact he was a boxer.
Riff has this band of lost boys, right? Who are lost and who feed each other.
Yeah.
I mean, it's why people, I think, for the most part, become involved in gangs because they want that sense of belonging.
Yes.
They need to be a part of something and have that purpose. And that's what the Jets are. But Bernardo and Anita have so much, like they have a home. They've rebuilt home.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Anita says, do you know where my home is? It's where I pay rent. It's where I come home at night.
It's my life. I live with you.
Yes, exactly. And I love her line when Bernardo says, I had a dream last night that we were back home in Puerto Rico with 6 kids. And her line is, 6 kids, marry a cat. It's like just that zinger of a line. It's brilliant.
She has great singers. Great, like the best singers.
She does. Yeah. And I mean, this number was just one that I was nervous about, and Spielberg hit it out of the park with it. I loved it. And I love the fact that you have not just Spanish kids dancing, but there is some Black children in there too at the end. So the fact that it's drawing in everybody, and the fact that Ariana DeBose is Afro-Latino. So the fact that you're getting a lot of mix in there, like it's not just Puerto Rican, it's the whole bunch of.
Well, it's that celebration of feeling othered in a place, right? And coming together and standing strong as a community.
Yeah.
And I think, what would happen if we made more people feel included in the dialogue?
Yeah. Exactly.
I don't know.
I love it.
I don't know. I'm doing that as my number 2 as well. What's your number 3?
A Boy Like That / I Have a Love. This was a song I liked because it was sung live on set. And the emotions those two women brought, like Kushner describes this song in the book as a pursuit. It is a chase between the two of them. Anita chases Maria, and then Maria chases Anita. And
so I didn't get it.
Okay, I got it. I mean, I got it. And the fact that you watch Ariana DeBose cry and then she puts her hand on her stomach, which is a singer's trick to help steady your diaphragm, because she then had to sing at the end. So the rawness and the realness of that acting moment of how do you jump, like the fact that she went to such an emotional place and then had to jump back and didn't pull an Anne Hathaway of not being able to sing because you're crying.
I'd rather that.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh,
You don't need to finish a note for me.
interesting.
Leave it. What if you're sobbing uncontrollably because you are so grief stricken? No, please sing the final note of your song.
Yeah.
No. I would rather. I wanted this. I wanted that. I wanted her not to remind herself that she was an actor.
True.
You're not an actor. Yeah. You are Anita in this moment. What do you need? What do you want? How are you going to get what you want? If you don't get what you want, what is the conclusion? What is the consequence of that? The consequence is he's gone.
Yeah.
And your lover killed him.
Yeah.
Like, I wouldn't be able to get through that song.
Yeah. Yeah. True.
And sing it in Spanish.
Yes. The one thing I will say is I felt was missing, which is featured in the 61 version, is there's a musical vamp when Anita enters into the room or like enters into the space, and it slowly builds into the song as like her anger is building. Like it starts off quiet, melodic, and then it's da 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 da. It's almost Jaws as she's pacing outside the door, waiting to come into the room. And I missed that vamp. I thought that would have given the energy it needed to get into the song, because the slap was great. I needed to slap Maria in that moment. That was a righteous slap of anger and pain. But I felt the vamp was needed in there to really give the lead into that song.
I think it needed to be way more.
Yeah, I agree. Like it definitely could have been way more. Like the emotions could have been ratcheted up even higher. But I mean, the fact they did it live it's one of my favorite songs of it. Like I go, you did well. You did well with it. Like, is it my favorite? No, it's my number 3. I mean, I could have put the third spot was a tough to fill, because I'm like, I could have put Somewhere. I could have put the prologue. I could have put a few other choices. I was like, yeah, I'll go with A Boy Like That / I Have a Love, just because I like the conflict song. It is classic Sondheim.
Yeah.
And it's a song we talked about when we did the episode originally, because it was my third choice then too.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I love it. Okay. What is your third choice?
I don't know. I'm gonna say the prologue.
Good choice.
Do you know why?
Why?
The
whistle?
It cut off, and it was like, oh. Usually it goes da 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 da.
Yeah, it
lingers, but this went da da da, and I'm like, oh, that's new, and it got me right off the top. And I'm like, okay, but then you add in this, like people coming out of like the rubble with paint.
Well, the Jets are once again they're taking off, like they break out of the ground.
Well, they're being reborn. There's a rebirthing. There's almost an alien, like the movie Alien quality to it, right? Like, and it's scrappy, and gross, and I love that. I love that they were vandals. And then the level of violence of being hit with a paint can.
Oh yeah, it's a violent. Like this movie is very violent.
I was like, oh yeah, that's exactly where you need to be. And Baby John getting the nail
in his ear. Yeah, see, I love the prologue because it right away set up the Jets were not going to be as nice as the 61 version made them. Like they were, the Jets were far. I don't want to say they were nicer in the 61, but they were far less.
They were nicer.
Yeah, okay, we'll go with nicer. I think nicer is a good word.
Yeah.
Because like they come out right away. They're kicking down the sign that say men working. Like they're stealing the paint cans. They come into the community and steal paintbrushes. They take down signs.
Like
they wreak havoc. They come in and they just tear shit up in the worst way possible. And then they vandalize the mural,
the Puerto Rican flag.
Yeah, it's great. It's great. And then the way Spielberg shot it, the way Spielberg shot it with the different angles, like the fact you have the kid come down the ladder and the ladder slides right into frame, or the fact Baby John falls off the fence and gets caught in camera. It's brilliant. It was a brilliant opening. It was different.
And the irony of it being knocked down for the Lincoln Center, like that. It's genius because you're like, oh, what are you trying to say here?
Yeah. Okay, Autumn. Top 3 songs that didn't translate well to screen. What was your number 1?
The Dance of the Gym.
That's true. Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
I just hated it. I hated everything about it. I'm like,
I liked the costume design. I thought that was good. I liked some of the camera work that was done. But I agree with you. The choreography itself was very
the one thing I loved about the Dance of the Gym.
Yeah.
Was Chino and Maria.
That was great when he starts dancing.
It's so sweet.
Yeah.
It's so sweet and out of character, but he's putting himself out there and he's like, here I am. And she falls for it. How can you not fall for that? And then Hunka Hunka comes in and stares at her.
Yeah.
That's my Ansel Elgort.
I love it.
Isn't that good?
Yeah, I love
it. He looks... Can't. I just can't.
I do also love Riff's reaction to Anita in this scene when she cues the band. Yeah. Or no. After they do the double circle.
Yeah.
And Anita cues the mambo to start, and just Riff snicker at like, all right, you're kind of cool. I dig you in this moment. Let's go have a dance off. But yeah, the fact that Spielberg kept having them bump into each other.
Do you know what I also found sometimes? There was a respect.
There was.
For each other.
Yes.
And I was like, oh, it made it more tragic. Like their respect for each other, like the knives, guns, rocks, bricks, chains.
Okay, maybe not knives because knives are bad.
In a bathroom.
Yeah.
Not at the soda shop. Brilliant. I'm like, this makes sense.
Yeah, they would meet right away.
Yeah. In a men's bathroom.
Yeah. The most masculine place you can go next to the urinals.
Yeah. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Like urinal pucks and piss everywhere and graffiti.
Yeah.
Genius.
Yeah.
But there was a mutual respect, and that made it more tragic.
Yes.
So Dance at the Gym, except for the Chino Maria.
Yeah. Okay, my number 1 though actually ties in with Maria. It's I Feel Pretty. I didn't mind this number. What I didn't like was the way we got into the number.
What?
Because it was too soft. If you listen to the album for I Feel Pretty starts with the way it starts on in the show, which is the bum 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 ba da da dun 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 dun, like it's jarring. After the rumble, it's a jarring start to that song. And what I wished is we, instead of doing a soft fade out of the dead bodies and onto Maria, is they find the bodies, smash cut to Maria looking in the mirror and the spritzer bottle going off. Like right away, versus like, oh, she walks out onto the floor, she's kind of daydreamy. Like it just killed the energy coming out of the rumble. I want it to be jarred, because that's what that song's about. Like, that's what that song is. It's the sharp contrast of, we just saw 2 people die, and this girl doesn't know that's happened yet. We lost some of the dread because Spielberg chose to follow Maria's daydreamy meandering before she gets into the song. When it should have been
interesting to double exposure it, right? So Maria's, as she's spraying, it fades out and she fades in.
Love that. I would have loved it. Like, for me, like it's not like it was a bad staging. Like I like the fact they went through the store and Maria was playing upper class. That was great. It was just the way we got into it put me off. Because I
love that it was at Gimbals. I loved the relevance of that, and
the fact that she's cleaning
lady.
Yeah, she's a cleaning lady
at Gimbals.
They have 8 floors to clean, and the fact that the forewoman is Andrea Burns, who is a former Maria.
Mm-hmm. It was
Broadway
very
actress. It was a
fun
I
usually number, but I usually hate it.
I know. I was expecting it on your list.
No, it almost made my other list. Because I'm like, oh, thank God this made sense.
Yeah. Well, it makes sense after the Rumble. I like that it went back to after the Rumble. It feels because it's once again, it's that tragic fall. It's as you say, Autumn, it's that purveyor of false hope that we have before Maria has to take the fall and get the bad news from Chino.
Purveyor of false hope.
Yeah.
And yet she still sees him and sleeps with him.
I know. See, once again, I'd much rather her just see him. You don't have to bang him. Just see him and mourn together for what you've lost. She lost a brother. He lost a brother.
There has to be more. There has to be some struggle in that.
Yes.
Wasn't hardly any struggle. I'm like, there was no struggle in their relationship at all. Mm-hmm. Maria with Anita, yes, struggle, but not enough. Maria with Bernardo, yes, great. Maria with Chino, phenomenal.
Yeah.
But this, I'm like, this is your, your ultimate relationship, your lead relationship. And it's like they gave it the least amount of time. There, even when he was climbing the balcony at the beginning, I'm like, climb the whole balcony and have her shoo him off or something.
Yeah.
Like, and then, but like, let him keep trying because that's who he is.
He's persistent.
He's a petulant knob, just like the rest of them.
He is.
And trying to make good, but he's also trying to get what he wants.
He wants Maria.
Right?
Yeah. And I love the shot of the dance at the gym where, going back to that number for a quick sec, is after they come out from under the bleachers and Chino starts talking in Spanish to Maria. And then it just slightly pans to the other side. And you see that Tony's standing next to her on the other side. So Maria is literally standing between these two worlds of choice. She can go with the expected choice of Chino, or she can break the mold and go with Tony.
Safe choice. Safe or rebellious. Mm-hmm. I wonder what a teenager will choose.
Right. But yeah, I feel pretty, like, I liked it. It's just the way we get into the song is where I felt a little off on it.
Okay.
But once again, like, Rachel sings it beautifully. It's once again, like, I'm nitpicking here.
Yeah.
I will say, like for example, my second choice, the Jet song. For me, it was just kind of like, once again, it's not a bad song. It's not like Mike Face does a good job. You feel the brotherhood and the fact that they exclude anybody's without saying a word, but you understand that relationship of beat it is well done. And the fact that they climb the rubble heap at the end and throw the bricks, that defiant, like, up yours at the end. It's nice, but it's like boring. It's like, okay, like, once again, if your prologue is done well, which it was, you don't need the song. You just need Riff to say, we're having a rumble, and we need to go get Tony. Leave him to me. And he just walks off and cut to them in the basement.
Yeah.
That's all you need. You could cut the Jet song because Spielberg did such a good job with the prologue and the Lieutenant Schrank scene after that it's all set up for you. The Jet song is there for extra setup. Because it's like, you're not secure in, do we set up the Jets well enough? It's like, no, you got them. You're good. Like,
I didn't think it translated well either. It was going to be on my list. I was like,
yeah, it's not horrible, but it's blech.
And I missed Jerome Robbins' choreography.
Yeah.
Shocking.
Shocking.
Wow. I missed it.
Yeah.
But sucker. I'm a sucker for his choreography.
I know.
Obviously.
Okay, so what's your number 2 then? If Jet Song isn't your number 2, what is your number 2?
That's my number 2. The Jet Song.
Okay, so what's your number 3?
What was my number 1? I totally forget. Oh, the Dance
at the Gym. So what's your number 3?
3.
I have mine, and it's going to shock you.
I know what it is. I know what it is already, and I'm going to fight it.
What is it? What is it?
It's Krupke.
Yes. Which I know, Autumn. I converted you on the song, and now it's made my other list.
Well, for the first time in this film, I was like, oh, I get that you're dicks. Like, I knew they were dicks, but like they were, it just made sense this time to me that they were wreaking havoc in the police station and they were being idiots and, you know, making excuses for their bad behavior. I liked it. I thought it was really gross.
Like for me, I think Spielberg excelled at the song the way it was done. It leaned into the comedy.
Yeah.
And I love the fact that they talk about in the book is that below the floor below them is where the morgue is, because it was all filmed in this one church and they converted the basement of the church into the morgue. So as Kushner says, it felt like they were dancing above death the whole time, which was great. But for me, I just go, the placement didn't. The placement didn't work. For me, I just go, it's a fun, engaging number. I just don't like where it landed because Spielberg front loaded the show, so the movie so much that I was kind of getting not bored, but I was getting like, okay, how many more numbers do we have before we get to the damn Rumble? Like we got the Dance at the Gym, then it's Tonight, then it's America, then it's Krupke, then it's One Hand, One Heart, then it's Cool, then it's Quintet, and then we get to the Rumble, and then we rush through the ending. And I
didn't feel that. I was like, the Rumble is that moment, and the Rumble is almost the climax of the piece.
It really is.
So you shouldn't have much after the Rumble. That should be a nice denouement, button, end, done. So I didn't mind where it landed, and I
wanted it later. Like I just wanted once again, Autumn. It's that I wanted the darkness of that song, and I don't think Spielberg.
I think
the darkness of the lyrics. Like,
I think he did.
Do you?
Because and I was surprised because it almost made my top list. Because I'm like, oh, this is new. This is dangerous. They're petulant, and it was ugly. It was ugly.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, you were not afraid of this song. You didn't need to make it yuck.
Yeah.
There was relevance and intention in it. And that's what the song needed.
I don't know. For me, I just went, I wish it was in a different spot. That was my only thing where I was like,
but what if you put a reprise in the soda shop?
Well, as you said, that's the good alternative where I'm like, if they had done that, then I would have been happy and gone, okay, you earned, that was the remake of this movie. But yeah, that's what I would have done to balance it out. Because I just went, after the Rumble, we lose the Jets for so long and we miss character beats with them. And having a scene in a back alley where they're trying to justify what they did. They're trying to justify their actions. And as we talked about in our West Side Story episode, which is this song really is a declaration of, you want us to be the monster, juvenile delinquent that you say we are. Fine. We'll be what you want us to be, because that's how we're going to get out of this mess. Because they're being chased. Krupke and Schrank are chasing them down after the Rumble, right? And it's a fact of, what are we going to do? What are we going to say? Like, What do we do to get out of this situation? Oh, I know. We'll play into their hand. They'll pass us through the system and we'll come out the other side. Like, nothing's changed. We passed around the system and like we'll get out the other way.
I don't know. I thought it was kind of them justifying what they were about to do.
See, for me, I went this version because they have Baby John being nervous about going to Rikers. And the fact that they're coaching him on say something, but don't really say anything. Like it worked on one level because it was because it was more about that him being worried about being interrogated before the Rumble. When I'm like, I wanted it after the Rumble because afterwards I was like,
it's not feasible after the Rumble though. It's not feasible. I've never found it feasible after the Rumble. Because it's like, you wouldn't be singing this song after the Rumble.
Well, that's because they stage it as schlocky, not with sincerity, which comes down to that last verse. If you stage that last verse of Gee Officer Krupke, we're down on our knees because no one wants a fellow with a social disease. Gee Officer Krupke, what are we to do? Gee Officer Krupke, Krupp you. And you play that with not jovial energy, but I with sad realization that and pleading, and particularly now that Krupke has become almost a father figure to them, or become a paternal energy, that if you play that final moment with almost no orchestra and you just let it be a cappella, then it works.
Okay.
But Bernstein's orchestrations keep undermining the song because you're right. So many people go, it's a comedy song. It's meant to be jovial because it's young dun dun na 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 ya da 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 da.
But as we know, in all good things in the world, in all good theater, you play the opposite of what is given.
True.
And Bernstein, I bet, would allow playing with music. I think Sondheim probably would have been like, let's try it.
Yeah, Sondheim would have definitely been like that because he supported
that. Is a good artist. That is a good artist at his level of his career to keep going. Oh yeah, how can we challenge this to make this better?
Yeah, let's have the shark speak Spanish and sing in Spanish. Brilliant.
Like anything, like just keep evolving.
Yes.
Otherwise, you're just a picture, and a picture with the same viewer.
Yeah. But Autumn, I'm all for your idea of bringing back that Krupke do reprise in the candy shop with Anita. I think that is a wonderful way to really darken that song and make it.
If I ever do West Side Story, which is highly unlikely because I hate Tony.
But Autumn, you could do something with your hate for Tony. That will inspire you to change the narrative.
Maybe. I liked what Kushner gave him. I'm just like, but something's coming just drives me nuts. That's my number 3 right there. Something's coming? God, get rid of that song or do something different to it.
You gotta put the struggle in it. It's a to be or not to be. It's a, do I jump off the cliff? What is around the river bend?
Yeah.
Song. It's searching. And then, well, that's actually what I liked about Maria is that they took a boring Maria song and they made it Tony's searching song.
I hated it too.
Really?
I hated it. it.
I love the fact that he's like searching for Maria, and that's why he keeps saying Maria, Maria, like the stage. I was like, that's smart. Like he's searching for her in the alley. That was brilliant.
That was fine. Yeah. He's just so boring.
Okay, next section. Next section. Between this version and the Best Picture winning 1961 version, Autumn, which do you prefer? Because there are pros and cons in each version.
Well, I'm going to say this version. That's a really hard one for me, though, because I adore the old version.
Yeah.
But I'm also looking at it through a modern lens. I know so much more now. I think what I fully appreciate is the script work by Kushner and the cinematography and what Spielberg, did directorially with it.
Yeah.
The choreography is not the same.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and the choreography is a huge component for me in this musical.
It is a major thing.
But I like the danger. I
Mhm.
like the danger in this one, and I think it became the conversation around classism, around racism, around otherness was like at the forefront the whole movie, about displacement, about home, about who we are answerable to, why gangs exist, what is their, why are they there, why do people feel they need to resort to violence. There was a great moment in this one where they went and knocked a sign that had been, I think, a Puerto Rican, maybe
It was an Irish pub that had been taken over by the Puerto Rican community.
That's right.
And they
And
take
they
it down.
knocked the sign and the Irish flag came down. I'm like, oh. But the dialogue between all of these displaced people and trying to fight for, like, if you look at the plight of the Irish, they were displaced. If you look at Italians, like, they were all displaced. The Jewish people displaced for centuries.
Yeah.
Right. And then you get, Puerto Ricans, you get people from Cuba. Like, you get the African American population. They are all displaced in this colonial system of hate. And trying to fight. And I think that was really relevant.
Wonderful. Well, for me, I also side with you on, I do prefer this version to the 1961. That's 1961 will always hold a special place in my heart. I will still go back and watch it, like, absolutely. But the detail and the expansion of the story, like the fact that even Spielberg got the sound of the subway when like Maria and Tony are entering into the subway. Did you catch what the do 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 do, like it had the little motif of there's a place. Like, just the detail and the finesse that went into this is fantastic. And
we also know more. We also know a lot more now.
Well, yeah, we know that it's absolutely wrong that in the 61 version they painted Rita Moreno up to look darker when she is Puerto Rican. Like, wasn't it? Or George Chakiris, who's Greek, playing Bernardo. Like, like not great. But once again, it's iconic. As you said, the choreography is stunning, and the energy toward the end of that movie has such a better drive to it. I mean, in both versions, Richard Beamer, Natalie Wood, this one, Ansel Elgort, Rachel Zegler, their pairings don't match up. Like, I like the development of Tony in this one more.
Yeah.
But once again, it's the performance that's given doesn't match the material that was given.
It's just boring.
Yeah.
It's just boring.
Yeah, exactly. But yes, this version I highly side with. All right, Autumn, let's do final thoughts. Is this musical worth seeing? Would you recommend a watch?
Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, look at it. The music is beautiful. It's given an absolute beautiful overhaul by Spielberg and crew. And, if you can read anything by Tony Kushner or witness anything by Tony Kushner, whether it's his best work or not, just go. Because he understands the human condition. And for me, he is like Sondheim was the musical version of Shakespeare. I think Tony Kushner ranks up there.
He does.
With, the Shakespeares of the contemporary theater world. I think that is his place. And I think he holds that justly. Yeah. Right?
Yeah, I agree. I agree on that.
There's an ugliness to his work. And
it's reflected in this movie. The ugliness is there.
Yeah. Like, he just gets it.
Yeah.
So,
well, I mean, the fact that they put so much effort into this one, like the fact that Spielberg and Kushner made 3 trips to the Puerto Rican University in Puerto Rico to talk to that community and go, what did the other versions get wrong? What are we missing? Like the fact they made such a conscious effort to make sure the other voices were heard, and they made choices of, no, we're not going to subtitle the Spanish to make it easier for the English speaking audience. If they want to
now,
understand it, they'll understand it. We'll make
I
sure that
don't
the actors
want
give
to
their
praise them for that. I don't want to praise them for that. They should have done that. And they just learned the lesson.
Yeah, but that's the important thing, is that they learned the lesson and grew and made a better film.
Like yes, absolutely.
Like that's the big thing. They could have, like, Spielberg's love for West Side could have blinded him, because this is his favorite musical. Sure, this is the one he grew up speaking about, saying this is the movie I grew up on. I know the music really well. He could have just done easy peasy, carbon copy. I just want to do my version. But the fact that him and Kushner went, no, there's more here. This is a timeless and timely film that needs to be told. And
yes.
And they
anything other than that.
5 years. 5 years took them to do the script. But like, it wasn't just a rush through. It was a let's dig and let's figure this out a bit better.
But anything other than them doing that due diligence would have been artistically irresponsible.
True. But as we see with a lot of art like this, there's a lot of artistic irresponsibility being done. So the fact that they
I won't praise them. Yeah. I won't praise them, but I will thank them for doing something properly.
Yeah.
But I won't praise them because that would be yay, white men. And you know what? Good on them for acknowledging their privilege and for putting it out there and engaging communities in conversation and doing that work.
Yeah.
That putting, approaching the work with humility and a curiosity is something to be acknowledged 100%.
Yeah. And for me, exactly. And I just go out and see it. Don't go see Spider-Man for the 4th or 5th time. Take the time to go see something else. Go see West Side. Go sit for 2 hours, 2.5 hours, and let the story sweep over you. Like, I knew this film was working when I was at the screening and sitting next to me, like empty seat and then person next to me, to Jessica and I, was a second-year film student who had never seen this story before. And her visceral reactions to this movie, like she was swearing, she was screaming, like all through the Rumble. All you hear from her is no, don't do it. Ah, fuck, no, why did you do that? Or like when Maria chooses to sleep with Tony, you're an idiot, don't do it. Or just like when Anita is about to enter and catch Maria and Tony together, her just get out of there. She was verbally getting so engaged with the story that she knew nothing about. And I went, that's when I knew this film was working. I went, that's why everybody should go see it. Because if you don't know this story, you'll get something out of it. Because what Kushner is saying and what Spielberg is portraying in this is far greater than what the 61 is. And this is far from a carbon copy.
It's just relevant. It's relevant to what we've seen happen in America.
And Canada.
In the world.
Yeah.
It's been heightened, augmented tenfold since the pandemic started.
Absolutely.
And I think vive la resistance. Keep making films like this.
Yeah.
Challenging the systems.
Yeah. Now Spielberg should make Rags. Or Parade.
Yeah.
Because I want Spielberg to do more musicals with Kushner. I think they have tapped into something where Spielberg proves that he is the genius director that everybody praises him for. This is his first movie musical, and he chose to tackle one of the most difficult musicals to do because this had such a Everest history to it of, if you're going to remake a Best Picture winner, you better hit it out of the park. Because if you don't...
But I want to say something about Spielberg, which makes him great.
Fire away.
He surrounds himself with great people.
Yes, he does.
That is all you need to do to be great.
Yes.
Is to surround yourself with great people who can support your work, who can nurture the work, who believe in you, and who can collaboratively create something that hits the ball out of the park.
Yeah.
I mean, look at the people he surrounded himself with
for
this musical.
Well, the fact that he chose that over 50% of his cast will be making their film debut in this, that he wasn't afraid to be like, well, like, I need Ariana Grande to show up and play Anita because we need a big name for this role. It's like,
no, that's why people aren't going to see it.
Yeah.
Which is too bad.
It is. I hope this movie, if you don't see it in theaters, because right now you can't because pandemic, but I hope that when this comes out on streaming, that more people will see it.
See it. Watch it more than once. Pay for it.
Be like Mac. Watch it 4 times in the theaters. Pay for it. Pay for it and love it, because you will.
I'll pay for it again.
Well, Autumn, I think as we were wrapping up, we can officially announce that when this movie does become available on streaming platforms, you and I will be doing a live movie musical commentary of this.
Okay.
Because our first one was the 61 version, and that was a hit. And I think rightfully so, our second one should be this.
Okay.
The proper fall. Considering we never got to see it together because of the stupid pandemic. That I think our audience deserves to have us commentate.
I think they do
on this.
I think they do.
Yeah. So
yes.
And on that note, Autumn, let's wrap it up. Where can people find and follow you?
Well, Mackenzie Horner. Let's see. Autumn DM Smith on all platforms. Littlewood Smith. Let's Be Honest FM. And Timberpiece Productions. The things all the times.
Love it. Thank you to Mr. Well, first we'll say thank you to Mr. Brody Weld for our fantastic theme music. Check out his new album, Locus. He is just whipping up that music at all times. Love him dearly. We hope to get him on an episode at some point. As we keep talking about him. And he is a very well-read man who is incredibly intelligent. So I would love to get him to come on and speak about a musical.
Yes.
And you can find and follow me at Mackenzie Horner on all social media platforms. You can follow my antics with Cup of Ham Walk. Right now, I can say I am the co-artistic producer of the company. So we are producing all types of fun stuff. We are just getting back into it. We have just released our episode all about the National Theatre production of Everyman, starring Chiwetel Ejiofor. We just had our Christmas episode, which is all about the Christmas truce of 1914. And there we go. On that note, everybody, thank you so much for watching. Thank you for following us on our journey of West Side Story from the first time we did a teaser trailer review to now. And we can't wait to have you join us for the live movie musical commentary. We'll announce that when it happens. Until then, everybody, just keep it cool, boy. Real cool.